Welcome, I'm Bill Wake. We're here working on a program to compare tunes for similarity. We've been at it a while, and we're at the point of creating dendrograms that show the value of clusters. We decided we wanted to make the dendrograms spread out a little bit because the lines between the pieces were so crowded. And we got the vertical lines right, and today we're going to get the horizontal lines right on those brackets, I hope. All right, I just ran tests. I'm going to move this over to the side because we've been watching, we've been using the dendrogram views preview when it needs a little more space if we're going to do that. All right, I just ran the tests. They're all green. Run the app, see what we're up against. Okay. And we'll do our big data set, although I think we'll see enough in the small one. All right. So what I see is we believe we've got these lines far enough. We've separated these lines. So that's just overlapping a hair. Maybe not quite enough. There's a little space around this diamond that's making that a little incoherent. Okay, so for now, I'll accept that these are how we want them. The horizontal lines, though, are not right. We moved these over an extra half a diamond for each level of depth, and the bottom horizontal lines did not move. Okay. Now, this stuff here is weird. These two are basically identical, and they belong together. Their distance is effectively 0. Before, we just had a little vertical line. We didn't have this line on it. So I'm not sure. We've got some some edge cases to worry about. All right. And I'm not sure what's going on with these little tiny fragments. It may be that's just the distance. It's the -1 on depth that makes it weird. Okay, let's try that experiment then. Dendrogram. Well, I'm not convinced. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay, right. So connector depth. If that's all right. So okay. So I guess the theory is this thing actually slid left even though it should have just stayed where it was. Okay. I think, well, okay, let's take that off. I don't think it's right like this though, but and then sorry, what's adjustment? Depth adjustment. Offset X is in unscaled coordinates. Well, that doesn't sound right anyway. Vertical line connector depth. The depth is 1, 2, 3. The depth. Okay, we did adjust it here. Okay, yeah, we needed to multiply by that. All right, let's take the 1 off and see what we get for a result. That 0 length connector really is kind of an unfortunate beast. Well, that actually looks a little worse to my eye. And let's flip it. It may not be a significant thing. Okay, that's pushing that further out. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. There's a depth there, but the diamond actually has a drawing thing too, right? This one. Okay, let's take them both off and be consistent at least. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, for these non-zero ones, okay, the horizontal line we regard as being wrong, so I'm not going to sweat that one too much. What's weird, well, these, yeah, that's just not, you can see it's just a hair too little. Well, it would be nice to get that one right. I don't know. So what I'm thinking is if depth, if two things are equal, their elements have depth 0, their diamond has depth 1. Okay, I think, yeah. See, I'd be okay if this line didn't go past there a little bit. I mean, I would accept that as a decent way to draw a 0 depth thing. But I'm going to focus more on the positions of these out here. Now, in this case, like, I think this should not have a depth adjustment because its children don't have any depth. They're zeros. And the fact that he's a 1, I want his depth of adjustment to be 0, so that's why I get -1 there, or had -1 there. All right, but see, there's just something funny going on, like here. '53 connects those two. The adjustment value on the horizontal or the vertical lines? Vertical, we're just using the depth is the only adjustment. So font size over 2. On the X's, well, we just did some by eye kind of things here. But I kind of wonder if it's the 0 depth axes that are throwing it off. Like, if it comes out as 0, okay. Oh, that could well be. Yeah, we I don't mind messing up the horizontals a little since we're already messing them up. Actually, let me try our preview. Well, we're here now. Yeah, you're right. Okay. I mean, this for 41, other than the line in the middle of it, that would be perfectly acceptable to me. I would think that's an improvement, actually. All right. Well, let's tackle these. So one thing is, I think we need to adjust another half diamond. It looks like, or it's here. You can see it's 2. Yeah. All right. But at any rate, I think this one needs to move a half diamond to the right. So I think I've divided by 2. Right. Let's just try font size. It may be times depth or something too, right? I think it will be times depth. So I don't know. I'm just let's use this instead. If I can get it. I believe really we need to do an adjustment, a depth adjustment here just as well as the other one. Okay. Let's go see our test data. You know, I'm going to put 2 more in there. Get a 0 in there just so we have examples of that. Okay. And I think we could do the background color. Content is the function going to view. Whoops. Just to make this. Let's see if that, whoops, wrong one. Was it light color? No. Assets. Light 1. Okay, just to take that distraction away. All right. So a horizontal line, it should end up where the vertical line does. So we know part of the deal here. All right. If the vertical line goes from X to Y plus depth adjustment to, I think we're still doing deltas, right? Oh, no, this is the end. Okay, so get the deltas out of my head. The end point on the vertical line is the bottom, right? The top. So the horizontal line of the connector dot top, his end point needs to be this. So he connects up to the thing. Where it says top, we're going to just change that to branch. Okay, and then we need an extra argument for depth. Okay. Oh, wow. It's kind of looking. Okay. So that messed up. That messed up the first one, but the others are quite okay. Now their starting point. Notice it's 0, 1, 2. So clearly our starting point is missing. I think should be depth adjusted as well. Should slide 9 over and 10 over 2. Yeah. Okay, now the only problem is that bottom one. All right. But oh, I shouldn't say the only problem. This starting point is sliding over 2. Depth. Yeah, they need that depth multiplier. So why is this one off? Well, I think the same reason these may be. I don't know. Somehow that should work out to 0 when this is 0, right? Depth times font size over 2. Okay, I got this element as 0. Okay. Let's see. So I guess I'm not. I think I need more depth adjustment on my horizontal lines. This one. Because if it's connecting to an element, this should work out to 0. But this one is not doing that. Okay, did I not adjust top and bottom? Connector, bottom connector. That seems okay. All right. This one start is moving over. I'm not sure the best way to get this. So his start line is adjusted here. Okay, he's taking the depth of the parent. I think this should be top depth and bottom depth. They need to go by their own branches, no depth. Wait a minute. Connector dot depth. Oh, top is not. I thought we put those in the connectors now. We have the connectors, but I think all we're doing with them is using them for elements IDs. Right, because I think what's going on is this line, he's off by 1 diamond because this one says my depth is 2. And it's true, this one should be drawn out there, but this bottom one, its depth is 0 because the element is the item there. Or this one, I guess. So I'm going to I guess I'm going to say this line needs to be based on the depth of its own side. So here we're drawing the bottom line. The depth is not 1 or 2, making it off by that. And this one's off, well, maybe. It's certainly off by at least half a thing here, and this one's off by 2 halves. Okay, because we're getting the parent's depth, which is the maximum of the two, not the child's depth, which is the actual depth for that line's purposes as far as starting points, like down here. Okay, so I guess I need to know that top. I need to know the depth of that top child. All right, so I'm gonna provide an accessor for that. I don't. We may come back and check it, but ID. Okay, let's. Do we do level? Yeah. Okay. Now, if I get a recursive crash, I'll know I'm doing this when I shouldn't. Okay, so in here, I want child 1.depth, and here I want child 2.depth. Okay, we're closer. Now I feel like this is half a tick over. No, his horizontal line is. Whoops, sorry. Depth adjustment is set as an offset, which means the whole line moves. Yes, that's true. Adjustment should be added to the second X position. You're saying only the second? I don't think that's right. So what I'm thinking now is my vertical line is half. It looks like it's consistently half a diamond too far to the left. Well, no, it's not quite right, is it? That's 2. Now, I'm sorry. This is his 2 point. That should match exactly this, right? Because the vertical line should start where the horizontal line ends. So point top branch dot x2 branch dot y depth adjustment calculated the same. Why are these not touching? I mean, even if the initial position is totally wrong, that's not quite right. Well, maybe my -1s and all that is not quite there. This one's -1, this one's -2, that one's -3. So that I don't know. No effect. How is that possible? Now that should mess it up. So, okay, depth adjustment should not go in the offset, I'm sure. It's be in all X positions. Wow, changing this line, changing the adjustment on the. I feel like I'm not getting the real view here. Like, how can that not have an impact? Let me just run the whole set. Maybe I should just start them from first principles. The offset moves the horizontal lines right. Yes. I'm not sure. I think sometimes we had negative ones. All right. All right. Those are skewed. Okay. These are too. It's just a small scale. Okay, let me zoom in a little. Come on. Pause, but I can't drag it. Okay. Okay, let's take these lines from scratch. Okay, a line has its level, and normally we would like to just draw them to their level. But I think what we're saying is this vertical line is, well, I don't want to say this. Okay, so a thing that should be true is if you are an element, if you're connecting to an element, its starting point should be on the far left. This is not that case. I think that seems to be a straight line up and down to me. Okay, so I think in some level that is right. Now, do you have to make a depth adjustment on a horizontal line? Well, I think you do. If you're drawing this line, he should lose half a diamond because he's connecting to one. Yeah, the left X should be adjusted less than the right. Yes, I think that's true. But I'm thinking on these ones like this, I mean, okay, let me add one here. This is on the ending point. I don't know if that's, I don't like my starting points though, so I don't see how the ending point's going to be helped by this. Oh, that's too late. Let's do it here. Okay, now I'm adjusting the right place anyway to do something. Okay. Now that's better, but still off down here. See, this one's off one tick, this one's off 2 ticks, and this one's off 1. And I think the reason this one's off 1 is it only draws its child adjustment. Oh. I don't think it's a coincidence that this is off 1 and has 1 child. I don't know, this one's off 2 and is a parent over 2 children. So by argument, this should be off 3. So I don't know. Doesn't that top one look so nice? Okay, so you got your depth. I guess if you're an element, your depth, I'm sorry, your level is your distance, and it should be exactly what you draw. Now, if I add why is it so hard to think this through? All right, on the top one, you got 2 elements. You should have no adjustment. You just draw your line. Yes, I believe we used the max depth on child depth calculations. Let's see, connector. Yeah, max of child 1, child 2. Okay, so I think something is going wrong because when you have a node like this, one of its children is normally deeper than the other. Well, it's certainly often the case that that's true. You could have a totally balanced thing, but if this one is 1 deeper than this one, like this should get an extra tick. So it's almost like that. At some point we talked about depth minus min of the 2 or something like that. we had some calculation that was like depth minus parent depth minus child depth or something. And that's why I'm trying to get the child depth in here, because I think that is the depth we should depend on somehow. So this line, if your connector, your child depth is 0 because it's an element. Here it's 0 because it's an element. And this adjustment goes away. You just draw the line length. Okay. Then the y coordinate, you are fine. I mean, I think our y coordinates, our vertical lines are fine. Okay. Now this one, he draws, okay, he's drawing this vertical, well, he draws the 8 bracket. Okay. Then he comes in and we've moved the vertical line over half a tick beyond. So you drew 8 and we drew 9 in where we think it goes, one diamond width away or half diamond. And then we said, draw your line, number 9. Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, maybe that's a better way to think about it. Well, I think it's probably our connectors should be more aware of that, but the depth adjustment is it's in pixels because we're doing it's based on the diamond size, which is in pixels. The line lengths are theoretically based on the distances we find. Gosh. All right. So somehow I feel like this calculation is getting messed up, that the line here, it draws this correctly. It draws this correctly because the adjustment, it should be a hair to the right plus an adjustment, which I think is what it's doing. I mean, I'm happy it's drawing that one right. That it doesn't go into the diamond. So that's progress for us. But the lower line, see, this is where I was doing parent depth minus 1 because of that. Horizontal line from connector top. Okay. And connector chop 1 dot depth. Let me go back to connector depth minus 1. It's going to screw up that first one, the 0 one. Okay. Now I'm getting the right. So my length is still off. So I'm sliding it over based on that connector depth. Do I need both children and parents' depths? He needs to slide over an extra 1. No, an extra 1. Extra 2. Extra 1. Okay. Is it missing the half diamond corrections? Yeah, I think the starting point is missing. It almost needs to know the other depth to do the right job, or maybe it's parent depth. But this thing says my depth is 0. Wait a minute. He knows his X and Y. Okay, branch X, branch Y. Those are the ones that are we calculated as sort of the ideal mathematical positions. And now is he negative depth? Am I just going the wrong way? Not really. Okay. His starting point. Well, it depends. Maybe it just depends what he's connecting to. Half a diamond to the start position here. We're talking about this one, right? Half a diamond to the start position to get out of the diamond. The other branches need the same treatment. Well, everybody gets. I mean, the okay, if I tell you the branch depth, node 10, his branch depth is 3. Okay, so depth, and it sure looks like, well, I'm experimenting at this point, honestly. All right. This is where I feel like I need a whiteboard to draw on and go from there. Okay, so this case, we get the level. That's the length of the line. And honestly, I don't know why depth plus 1 should be right. I think that should be 0. Okay, I'm going to take it back to what I think it should be. All right, so if you do that, the element, CDC, whatever, his depth is, well, what are we doing? We're passing in the connectors depth minus 1. Let's pass in the, okay, I don't know. Well, in any case, this depth adjustment, well, it should be 0. It's the parent coming in and drawing it. And he says, my depth is 1. Depth minus 1 is 0. Draw starting at XY. And connect it to X2Y. Okay, so that's the start and end. All right. And that seems right. I mean, just this case, I think these two lines are right. I think this thing is half a tick too far to the right. Okay, so I'm going to make that change. Nobody changed. diamond did not change. Okay, now, all right, so I think those are consistent anyway, but not right still. So here's level 0. We come in, we do that. Okay, now we want to do the line for the top of node 9. Okay, and node 9's depth is 2. His depth minus 1 is 1. So our horizontal line is what we told it to be plus 1 tick, 1/2 diamond to move it over away from the diamond. Now, okay. I was going to say I could see subtracting it off somewhere, but that's fine. Okay, so 1/2 diamond over. This one comes in on this child, and he says, my level is 2. My 1 minus 1 is 1. You should start moved over 1 tick. Okay, that is just not right. Okay, because he should not start 1 tick over. This one has to, because it's got to allow for a tick there. So I feel like that's where I got the children involved. Okay, now let's do it again with first exposition should get the offset using the depth of the child. I think it has to, because not so much these ones on the leaves of the thing, but these ones here, this one has to be over 2 because it's depth 2, on the child of 10. Okay, so this line, if you took this, well, I don't know if I can say it that way. All right, let me change it back to child depth. Now, one of the children, okay, a little more room. One of the children on 9 versus 8, child 1's depth from 9 is child's depth minus 1. And so I think that adjustment on the x-axis is right. Now this one, I'm going to say child 2 depth. Okay. I'm trying to get the left side correct, and I think this does. But the right side, the end point, I almost wonder if the bracket should draw this. Yeah, the right side needs the depth of the connector. Yeah, we don't know which one's going to be smaller, but the smaller one needs to know the gap from it to the full height. Okay, so let me pass yet another depth. on here. And I don't know, we can try and get them better. All right, so horizontal line. Let's rename this, well, let's do parent depth event. Okay, and then I'm going to rename this to child depth. Okay, so the child depth's right-hand side is that this with parent depth. Yeah, we need those two depths. Add it to the X in the second point. Well, the X here, this is coming from the connector, and it's the distance like in our 0 to 1 scale we have. So if we're going to adjust something at pixel size, that's basically why I had this extra adjustment parameter. Okay. I want to run the whole thing and just see what's looking like on the big set. I mean, it looks good. The computation to get there seems clunkier than it has to be for sure. Well, that's looking pretty darn good. Except it got out of bounds. Okay. Which I can understand because our bounds don't take into account the depth. They only take into account the maximum there. Okay, they're still like, it's like it's got to be a couple pixels more, unfortunately, because I've got a little white border around this diamond. Yeah, the starting point needs to, I think that's right. The starting point is based on the child's depth. Okay, so node 9, he needs to be whatever his depth is plus 1/2 diamond. And the second point uses the ending point needs the parent's depth, right? Because this thing has its own depth, its natural depth. But, the parent had to allow for the extra one from the child on the other side, and we need to make up for it. Yeah, what do we propose to do? Okay. Let's check. We got these. Okay, that pesky diamond. I wonder if I can give it a background transparent. Okay. Let's background color. Transparent? No. I don't want. Yeah, this is kind of what I want. Yeah, I guess I can do that. I don't care about the color though. I thought there was a dot transparent. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know which way it's going. Oh dear. No, thank you. No, thank you. Okay. I don't see any difference. Let's do green. Oh, I paused. That's more like it. Okay, gray just to stay out of the way. Okay, but I think, yeah, again, okay. It's still overlapping a little bit. At least it doesn't have the obnoxious lines around it. Now, let's see. Oh, but it loses. Oh, that's unfortunate. No, I don't think it's that I need to create my own color per se. The problem is I want the inside of the diamond to be white, but I don't want the outside. Set element depth to 1. Interesting. We'll break a bunch of tests, but let's see what it does to our view. I think it's okay. Yeah, although I think I could just the other way just put an offset on this whole thing, which seems like less lying. Because I do think this should be a 0. I can certainly offset the whole this by half a diamond, and that'll look okay, but it won't address this. This, let's adjust that dendrogram view. Font size. I'm gonna make this a thing. Okay. half diamond of double, and then in here, I need to update it. Half diamond equals font size /2.0 plus 2. Okay, and now we can talk about half diamonds. So I've made it a little bigger, font size /2, so make this half diamond. Now, all right, and let me just slide this view over half a tick. Draw elements. Okay. Now, so I think my transparency thing is not. Is there a filled box character control to get rid of the lines? Yeah, good question. I don't think they fill, unfortunately. Yeah, like these are transparent when they're where the white would be, I think. Like because we saw the sand color in them before when I set the background. So I think it's, I don't think it's there. Now, there's nothing that stops me from making my own. Well, except sheer laziness, I guess. But, you know, I theoretically could draw a little diamond. Draw a line over the other line. Or, I mean, we could do the work to draw two vertical lines with a diamond with space in the middle. And maybe that would be fine. I mean, it's kind of what we want. I don't have the numbers. I don't want them in real life. Let's take those off. They're helpful while we're debugging the clustering, but okay. And then, well, can I interact? I guess not. But we can see SF beta symbols with white interior. No, I don't think that's. Oh, here we go. Checkmark circle fill is thing is transparent. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess switch to a custom ping. If the checkmark is transparent. I mean, it's not so hard to make shapes and put them in. I can put them in the asset catalog. I don't know if we have any in there now, but no, I just have colors. But that would be one way. Draw this shape. Ooh. Don't need a box. A disk works just as good. Are you saying something besides a diamond, or? Yeah, I picked the diamond because it's sort of partway between a circle and a square. Um, and our selection is not exactly a mutually exclusive selection because it's selecting its children. So it's carrying stuff along that doesn't make it a radio button. Yeah, I mean, I can, well, okay, let's look at drawing those lines is two lines. um, vertical line, connector, top, connector, bottom. Well, what is line? Okay, I'm gonna just clean this up here. Stop the complaints. Okay, so what I would like to do is draw two vertical lines. No. Yeah, like I'm thinking if I draw two short ones, subtract off that diamond width. Um, well, they're coming from top. Maybe this can be a group. And return a view. No exact match. Okay, that's not going to work. I don't know how I want to split this up. So, okay, I'm going to make two and then fix it. Make two and then generalize it. Okay, vertical line one, vertical line two. Okay. Should be no impact. All right, so vertical line one, his endpoint bottom Y. I want a Y adjustment now, don't I? Yes, we do have the center. I don't know that we even use it right now. I guess we use it to calculate our positions on these. I don't know. Bottom point. is that, and then this just argues for Y adjustment, I guess. Let me do that. Okay. Okay, so here, vertical line 1, bottom Y depth adjustment, and the bottom Y should be minus half diamond. I think I have to make that joint. All right, now, what's the Okay, that should be redrawing. And I guess if I take out vertical line 2, that would make it easier to understand. Oh, he's not doing it. Oh, I didn't do anything with it. Okay, golly. We don't want to draw half. Okay. Center minus the half. Yeah, I mean oh, yeah, you're right. Unfortunately, the branch does not know the center. All right. Okay. Now vertical line 2. I don't know. I'm used to doing things in little stages like this, but I don't know, this is just not ringing well. All right, so this has to be top.y plus bottom.y divided by 2. So no, is that right? Golly. All right, what's going on here? Let's take this out. I mean, I want to draw from the center plus half a diamond. Well, same complaint. Yeah, so take the average plus the half diamond. Okay. Now, these, if. All right, let's see it on the big set. We've done several things now. Still got a long line. Now, I think I can. I've got this V stack. Actually, this H stack. Interesting. Not quite what I had in mind. All right, I'm gonna save this. Adjust horizontal and vertical position. So relationships are right. And then we draw a vertical line as two partial lines surrounding the diamond. Okay, and I want to see what we're doing here. Spread a horizontal line horizontally. Yes, we did that. And then we also, that. Yeah, I actually care more about that at this point. I mean, I think, well, this is, I don't know if I can put the whole thing in a scroll view, a horizontal scroll view, but I want to do a minimum amount to move forward from this, and then explore that depth thing. I know we're doing stuff in the matching algorithm, like if you're short compared to a longer one, but you match perfectly where you match, we penalize you quite a bit. And so I think I want to get rid of that. But it doesn't seem like there should be that much difference in some of these. And especially the incremental difference is surprising to me. Like this is way different, and then this is just a tiny bit different more, and yet they look pretty darn similar. So I think we'll do that. I think let's take a break first, then I'll see if we can just wrap that in a horizontal scroll bar and let it be for now. I guess the other thing I could do would be like count the depth and multiply by half diamonds and try and calculate the overall global size into that and stuff. But I think we'll try a scroll view. And if you have to scroll out to get to the last little piece, I don't think that's too onerous, right? Yeah, that's everything there. We can put a little padding out there, but yeah. So I want to see if we can make that fit that way, and if so, I'll call that good enough for now, and then let's explore this other thing for the rest of today. All right. So anyway, let's take a break, 3 or 4 minutes, and we'll come back and tackle that. All right, welcome back. Let's see. I just fixed a little spacing thing and ran the unit tests off camera there. Okay. All right. Put this in a scroll view. I think I'll leave that off for now. I think we're good enough. All right. The scroll view has to be on the H stack. Horizontal. Okay. Okay, we may need some more offsets. Let's see what's going on. Oh, these are approximately right now. That's good. Huh. It says horizontal scroll view, but why is it resisting? Well, it's not working, that's for sure. I think we'll offset them both directions. Okay, I'm going to offset this Y by line spacing. And same thing on draw elements. Why are you not working? Okay, let me revert this. I don't think we have anything too interesting there. Yeah. Some formatting. Overlay. Okay, I'm going to take the scroll view off. I'm going to leave that in. So weird it wouldn't scroll. All right. Now, I don't know if I can do this. Okay, one thing I want to try. We've set this font size. It's fairly big for what we're doing. I'm going to try cranking it, well, uncranking it down to like 18. And everything, if we've done things right, everything should still be proportionally spaced and all happy. I think why it's cut off at the top, line 0 is there and then point 0 on the drawing stuff. And I think, point 0 is supposed to hit halfway in the middle of the first line. So there's something going on with that. Now, why this is not adjusted and the real one is, I don't know. A smaller font will give us a little tighter look, and the names will get more characters in them. So that's why I'm considering that. Yeah, that's not bad. And everything still looks correct. Okay. All right. Well, I'm not fully happy. Let me change this to upper and lower. Oh dear. All right, I guess I want to see where we consider the frame width. All right, so I think the problem is the depth that we specify is 0 to 1, which when it gets multiplied by the frame width or the frame width times 3/4, it takes up this whole distance. now we've just added 40 or 50 half diamonds worth of extra space. And so it gets pushed out to the beyond the screen. What I'd like to do is adjust that by, well, subtract off those diamonds. Excuse me. We don't know we do know at this point. We got the stage. What does the stage know? He knows the cluster. I mean, I could do the number of elements. Let's try that. Inner frame width minus the padding minus a little extra. I want to say minus stage dot cluster dot depth, or maybe leaves count times half diamond, which means I have to do that up here. Yeah, the top cluster, we don't have depth. The connectors know all that extra stuff, and we don't have connectors yet in the constructor. Let's see where that gets called. Build connectors here. It maybe we should hold the connectors. But anyway, I keep seeing the blinky thing here and think it's thinking, but it doesn't because it's paused. I don't know, maybe I can run that. So taking the size is sort of a worst case thing. It says no intermediate clusters, just the big ones, and everything will fit. And it'll make it a little tighter than it needs to be if you do have intermediate clusters. Let's just rerun. I don't know why it's thinking so hard. Oh, yes, it should be. Well, it doesn't have to be, because like we could have song 1, song 2 are close, 3 and 4 are close, and then 5 is, it's kind of balanced. So, theoretically we could get a binary tree, sort of like log n versus n, and then times the number of half diamonds, because that's the adjustments we're making. But this is sort of like the worst case, totally linear tree, probably won't happen, but it's a lazy way to limit it. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Building seems to have gotten very slow. Okay, while that's debating things, yeah, except it shouldn't matter on the constructor because that's just not that complicated there. Usually it's inside of views because it's got to do this kind of resolution stuff. Let's stop, do a clean, and build. All right, and then I want to look up Parsons code. I think our distance function's in here. Yeah. Okay. Oddly slow. Maybe you're right. Maybe constructors just. Odd that would throw it off so much. Build failed. Yeah, I think it needed a cast, and for some reason it didn't. It struggled to type check that, which strikes me as bizarre because that's kind of like it's kind of like the easiest thing to to check for, really. I'm a former compiler person, and there, the structures to do the type checking for that is actually pretty simple. It's just I've got an operator and do the two arguments match types, and seems like you could bubble that up pretty quickly. But I think with Swift, it's doing a lot of type inference where if you leave out a type or it tries to find an alternative and stuff like that, and it does make it more tricky. All right, let's run tests if it will build that. There we go. All right. So what I expect now is we should see a frame wider than it has to be, but everything is visible. Okay, yeah, so these clusters prevent it from being a totally linear tree like it looks like in most of these other cases, you know. So we can select them all. Yep. I think the smaller size is okay. No, something is... I've calculated our, where's that diagram percent? Something, oh, inner frame width. No, this is not the right thing. I think it should come off here. Yeah, because I noticed this is not, that's no 25%. All right, so inner frame width, it was using that to decide the width of the text. All right, so try it. I don't know, there's so much calculation in here that's about the pixels versus, you know, the scale we have, that I just, oops, I just think it's in the wrong place. Oh no. Oh. Well, okay. I think I'm going to be happier with it like this, even if it's not perfect. This looks right, but it doesn't look like it's taking full advantage of the space. I mean, this distance is definitely small. But we don't need the horizontal scrolling, and everything's looking okay. All right. I think I will stop here. These names don't really mean much because you can't really see the full name, and there's nothing that guarantees uniqueness and all that. So I think we will call that good enough for now. I do want to adjust it. We'll probably get back to it, but I want to investigate this other problem before the day's over. Okay, so make drawing leave lots of extra space on the right. Account for the diamonds. Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah, the label space got smaller because inner frame width, basically I took the diamond space out of the whole frame, and so you take that diamond space out and then you get a quarter of that instead of a quarter of the whole space. So that's why I was trying to fool with X scale, but it's close. Let's see where. I really don't want to spend too much time on this, but all right. Draw elements. He's got inner frame width times 1 minus 0.75, so a quarter. I know we're dividing by 2 there. Let's take that out. I would like to think that's an artifact of something else we were doing, because I don't think we need that. It was something about offsetting into the space allowed for it and stuff. It may, yeah, it does appear to be needed. Okay. Okay, do we have any? No. Okay. All right. Yeah, yeah. But I think, well, this inner frame with, that's why I was thinking if we subtracted the diamonds here, then that would only affect the stuff affected by X scale, which is the the graph on the right, the dendrogram, not the elements. Okay. I am not loving this. This part's okay ish, but I don't know. There's a lot of room for mistakes in what we did and a lot of extra adjustments make it seem sensitive to me. Okay, but we will set it aside for now. Okay. This, we tried, it didn't work. Adjust, we'll leave that as the to do, but I think we want to understand why is the first depth so big? Okay. And I think we'll ignore that I did undo it. The smallest one of these that isn't a 0 appears to be this one. And if you took out those clusters, I don't think the clusters originally came out more than like twice that, or maybe 3 times that, but relatively small amount compared to it. I think of this like, I don't know if you did any statistics, but you know, when you had multiple regressions, like the first factor explains 75% of stuff, and then the second factor explains 12%, and the next one explains 7%. And, you know, they're always decreasing because you've taken the bulk of it, the variation away with the first approximation that the first one gives you. And I think that's kind of what's going on here, that these distances are kind of the interesting ones. And now we've manipulated them to take the half diamonds into account. All right, but why is this so big? And let's take this one. Well, 34 versus 35. I don't know which one of those two is really the biggest. I actually think this one was smaller, but this one has fewer diamonds, so it looks shorter. This is the artificially effect of those. Honestly, the real thing I should be doing is find the smallest delta from one node, you know, to its next, making that my minimum distance, and then multiplying that by the depth, the diamond width, to establish how, you know, that first tiniest one should be 1 diamond's worth on the screen, and then everything else would be truly proportional. Some other day. Okay, but 30, 35, and 34, let's just take these. They look pretty similar. All right, not perfect. And that opening looks very like, well, oh, now this may be the sliding problem. Like, these two are identical. Is this one? I don't know. I can't judge. Yeah, I can't quite tell. I'd like to overlay them and see the differences. That would be another interesting view. But the 34, 32 and 35 are identical, I think. 34 has a little repeat note in a couple places where this one goes down and back up. Okay, but the distance just doesn't seem that. How can we judge this? Okay, so let's look at our similarity measures, and I think we're going to adjust this and see that. Oh yeah, that might be worth it. I mean, I think honestly the better thing to do would be like let me select these and then overlay them, and then maybe shade the difference vertically, between them. But I mean, I would call this pretty close. It is a little different. This one gets higher. Yeah, it's. Oh, you know what I should do? I should quantize. Sorry. All right. Quantizing makes a difference. All right. So 32, 35, 34. Okay, let's see how these. This is a problem I know I have. Okay. We did some work to make it so if you leave the file open, we know which nodes have changed and all that. And we didn't adjust these other filters to work that way. So I don't know. We may not be able to get there. The quantizing is happening, but the selection is blocked because of that. And it's on our list, but we haven't done it. But what I find is this looks like a lot flatter structure because when you quantize, you get rid of the excess notes. And, if this one did some twiddling around here with little 16th note things or something, and this one didn't, they would still look the same because it's just taking whatever's on the beat for whatever beat you're using. And I think I did quarter notes by default. All right. That does look a lot more similar. Okay. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do was, this is just playing with it. Right now we take the score, double the gap times the number of notes, and then a length ratio. Let's take off this length ratio. So this is saying if you have 3 notes and this one has 4, your score should be reduced to 3/4 of what it could be. That we're assuming the extra notes are kind of wrong. And I think if I take off this length ratio, okay, score is 0 to 1. Okay, because it's scaled by the number of notes. Then the scores will get closer. All right, so this should fix. Yeah. Let's see. This should fix the drawing stuff. I believe we put that back. Okay, so cluster. All right, that's a little flatter cluster, isn't it? A lot flatter, actually. Is that everything? Yeah. The 2 Air 7s got pulled together because one was so long nobody could match it before. All right. I think this is definitely, It has weird corner cases. If you had one that just had one note and you found that note in a song, you'd say, oh, that's 100% match. This is great, and it is for what it is. But I think, all right. So let's remove the length penalty. So let's start from our tests. Open Parsons code test. Distance of equal tunes is 0. Okay, good. Distance between divergent tunes, divergent. I almost want to say is not scaled. Maybe has no penalty. Okay. And so the distance between them should be 1.0, 0.0. All right, that's going to fail. Yeah, we could try and make sure this passes. Yeah, I mean it could get a penalty. I don't know what's right here. It's hard to know. I think, like, if you look at our data, which is, realistic, I mean, it is real data, so it's realistic. Here's two versions. They look almost identical. What's their relationship to a longer version that starts exactly the same? Well, I don't know. That sounds pretty good to me, that they ought to be treated as matching pretty well. But you're right. Maybe there's a little penalty we could give it. All right, let's cluster this. Oh yeah. I'm definitely liking this. Although it's driving them so close that we're still kind of our minimum distance apart. Which, yeah, I don't know. That scaling is bugging me now because we have so many of these diamonds, right? It's dominating the length of this. Not as bad as it did a minute ago before removing the scale problem. But our first ones, okay, these two are looking pretty good. 32, 35, 139. Let's see what they got. 32, 35, yes, 139. Very similar. They're now much more similar to each other because they nearly match up till they, till the one version looks longer. And this could be a repetition, it looks like. If you, it picks this up where it happens to start, but this note could actually be down here or something. This could be the exact same thing. So sort of like an intro and then verse 1 and verse 2. We're the same. We just only sang verse 1 here. Okay. But this shape is very close, if not identical to, from here to here and here to here is very similar. So that should match. Okay. Let's pick another group. Feywall, Dawns, Dennyweed. I don't know. These names don't have a lot of similarity. Okay. Who's matching? 515, 1327. 1327 doesn't look too good to me. There's some down, 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 up, down, 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 down. Lots of downs, up. Okay. This one's a little better. It looks like the mountaintops have been cut off on the previous one, and it only goes so far. They're not super similar. I guess that's reflected here. This one's fairly short. This one's 50% longer. Some of these have very clever lyrics. Let's see. Let's take these. 623-9. Wow, 623. I buy that. 9. Well, okay. It's pretty similar. It's kind of similar here. Like this peak could match this one. And then this one has more downs, and this one bounces up before where this one went down a little first. It's hard to know. Let's take another one. Okay, I mean, this peak matches that one. This one's more horizontal, this one's more down, but then these peaks kind of match another horizontal. You can't really go by vertical position so much on this code, because one guy going down 3 times in a row versus one that bounced up and down, they could be completely identical from the rest of the air, and you just wouldn't know it. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. Okay, I mean, you sort of got ones that go mostly down along with ones that are going mostly up. Let's take this cluster instead. Okay, well, a couple downs, a couple sidewayses. You're definitely getting out there for distance. Those are pretty close. I guess with a little imagination, I can see that fitting in with these. And somewhat similar shapes. Yeah, a little more notey in here. All right, I guess I'm reasonably convinced by it. I like this change. Okay, so let's capture that. Remove the length penalty when one tune is a fragment of the other. Okay, that is good. Yeah, it is. It is. You know, a few extra downs can make the whole thing look relatively different, but you kind of have to match up at approximately the same time. Are they going approximately the same direction? How often? You know. Another suggestion I had from somebody was to do. He talked about it as a Fourier transform. You know, you could take, instead of taking these dimensions, these directional indicators of which way the tune's going, maybe break it up into, like, how many times do you play the first note of the scale, second note, third note, fourth note, fifth note, all the possible notes of the scale, which ones are you playing? And this one plays the one note 50 times and the 5 note 20 and the others 10, versus this one that plays the 6 note 50 times. They're very different in that way. And you could sort of make a little graph that showed, how often does each note occur, and then compare those graphs with some sort of distance measure, I don't know, you probably want to scale it, but like how many C's in this one versus how many C's in that one. You had to put them in the same key and stuff like that. All right. But cool. Okay. I just checked that in, right? We got nothing outstanding. All right. Okay. So we got 15, 20 minutes left today. Let's see. What could we do? I'm so bugged by all this fooling around. Well, that one looks okay. I guess one thing I want is if the stage changes, what happens? Let's see, is on change in here? No. All right. I don't know. I keep looking and looking, and they just get it feels uglier and uglier. I don't know. This is the hard way to scale these things. What we've done, we've taken these mathematically relevant distances, and then up here we've added half a diamond to it, but the real difference is only that much. When you move the room forward, the diamonds were off because it needed the same change in calculation. Yeah. See, I really do think, I don't know. I'm losing energy on this today, I guess, as part of it. But these small distances here, like one of these, and maybe I could set a minimum, but like if I said this distance that looks like an eighth of an inch on my screen is going to be scaled up until it's as wide as this 1/4 inch diamond. So it's not an eighth of an inch, maybe it's a 16th. It's times 4, times 6, or whatever it took to do that. And then everything is scaled by that. So you'd have a room for the diamond. And I almost feel like you should be taking the diamond's distance off this. If it were connected directly, I don't know. Maybe it would spread it out so much we couldn't do anything. It would help if I could figure out why it doesn't want to go in a scroll view. All right. So what do I want to do? All right. One thing would be to fix the other stages to be as clever as this one in the face of changes. So let's get cluster stage. Okay, so where do we keep track of that? Where's our transform? Right, we did this saved ID stuff. Now, I don't know if I'd like to externalize this because I kind of want every stage to do this. But what happens is let's ignore this view, but when you change a file, it tells the pipeline, hey, pipeline, I just changed something. You should rerun the whole pipeline from scratch. And so it does that. Now, the problem we had was cluster view is always highlighting the first cluster, or maybe the best cluster. And every time you run the pipeline, it says, oh, I should highlight my best cluster. And it never realizes, like, oh, we just ran the pipeline again. Like, here's quantize. Okay, quantize is now after this. Let's close this and open it. So it's after quantize. Okay, so it's looking okay. I mean, the differences and all that stuff are presumably correct, but if I change this, but if I try and select, okay, I should change what's down here, but I'm not, because selecting doesn't rerun the pipeline. And if it did, it would reset back to here and we'd be stuck, okay? And I don't know if I can set up the dependency the way I want to say it. So the pipeline is running from the first stage to the last stage, just feeding stuff in. Okay. I don't save, I tend to write a timestamp in some of these, but not save. It's not driving anything. What I've done so far is I said file input. Let's get to that stage. Okay, so, okay. So packet is parsed when, let's see, where's our stage? Okay, create, where does this packet come from? Okay, it starts out empty, and then when somebody calls handle result, we build the packet, okay? And that's the output of this stage. That's done independently of the create that the pipeline's going to call. So the pipeline calls create for its sources, and then sends the output of one stage that through the transforms to the sink, doing that along the way. This one, when you click open file, it doesn't trigger anything just yet. It only triggers it when you close that dialog. Then it does all the error checking and then makes a packet, and that's what gets picked up in create. Okay, we used to do the loading and creating the packet in here. Now I moved it to the handle, so I should take this out. Okay, but the point is when you open the dialog and close it with selecting a file, we make a new packet, and packet always makes a new ID. Okay, it just always generates a new one. So if you're building a normal packet, you get a new UUID. And the cluster view, cluster stage, that I just closed, okay. It checks that ID, okay, on the input packet, and it says, hey, if I'm working on a new ID, that means somebody opened a new file, and we got to recompute everything, okay, and set our initial selection and all that. If it's the same file, I'm just being asked to retransform something I was already given. Well, I don't have to change. I don't change anything. I keep the selection I have. That's going on kind of independently. But if they change files, I definitely have to reselect because I have no cluster to, it doesn't make any sense to select nodes 5, 12, and 17 in a totally different cluster. They might not be children, of the main node. Okay. Well, I'm not saving a timestamp. I'm saving this UUID. It needs to happen in the pipeline. And unfortunately, it's adding this kind of code to everybody that, like, the quantize is going to take whatever its input file is and quantize them, cut out the eighth notes. Okay. if the input file changes, it should recalculate. If they haven't changed the input file, we don't need to recalculate all the predecessor stages. We can just change our stuff and go downhill from there. Yeah, exactly. So I think what I have to do is I have to take any transform and say, you really ought to be, if you're not changing anything, then you should, you shouldn't make the ID change. If you are changing things, you should change the ID. Okay, so if you get the same stuff you had, it's kind of an optimization. I mean, the pipeline today, it runs every stage every time all the way through. But and even if I change this to 1/8 notes, okay, actually, let me select this, change this to a quarter note. Okay, this should affect this, and it didn't. Okay. Now it does affect these. There's quarter. Let's do 16th. Well, it potentially affects them. All right, I'm going to take the cluster out so I can see this stuff. All right. Yeah, so I took the cluster out, and this thing is still looking at these things. So something's not right. But if I do this quarter note, okay, I don't know. I'm gonna I think part. I'm not sure what's right here. Okay. Open a file. Why is this not all my stuff? Let's open a different file. Something's weird. Okay, this is going to be trickier to investigate. All right. At any rate, if the cluster changes, we should recalculate it. If a particular node in the pipeline changes, only the downstream one should be affected by that. The way it is today, everything gets recalculated and everybody has to redo all their work. Okay, and so it's a different interpretation of the pipeline, and that makes me think I can externalize it somehow. That, like, maybe stages provide a method that says, recompute. But okay, yeah, I don't know. The easy way would be add this kind of code to everybody and do it. But what I really want to do is make that the pipeline's job to realize, like, hey, you said your input didn't change and we're redoing the pipeline, so I'm not going to rerun the open source thing. I'm just going to use what I had before. I don't know. Maybe it means that would keep more stuff around, but I think it would make it easier to flow, and you wouldn't have to do this yourself. Okay. Now, maybe the way is, let's look at pipeline. This will be our investigation, I guess, for next week's thing. Okay. So here's the heart of pipeline. Go to some source, call create, gives you a packet, run the transform on every packet, transforming what it has to the next one, and run consume from the sink and eat it up. Okay. Now what I'm proposing is, All right. Yeah, what I'm proposing is this thing keeps track of the IDs coming back from packets. And if the ID is unchanged, it it doesn't need to do anything, does it? Well, I guess we don't know which stage caused the pipeline to run again. So if a stage in the middle changes something, he doesn't need, his inputs don't change. I guess every stage should be given a chance. Like if your input changes, we tell it to recalculate or reinitialize based on this input. And then, so maybe it's splitting transform. Like it's sort of saying you set your input and then get your output. If you get a new input, you got a new output, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, one might have more stages than the other or stuff like that. But I'm thinking this thing should keep track of that. And if it sees an ID as the same, it can just skip the front half of a transform that changes it, but then still take the back half that says, give me your output. And if the thing signaled us, then maybe it knows it's got to give it the it's got to adjust the output. So, yeah, so I don't know what, I'll just call this pipeline, but it may be a bigger project, but the idea is, yeah, two parallel lists of IDs. So pipeline owns two parallel lists of IDs, knows when a transform needs to run or something like that. Okay, so there's something like that going to go on. Now, the cheap and easy way that duplicates things is to make everybody do their own stuff. Okay, but I think what I'm going to do is I think I will split this function. So where's a stage? Yeah, where's a transform? Well, what I'm going to do is make at least the transforms. I don't know about the others, but a transform, I'm going to give it a stage that says update based on input, and then update your output or reveal your output based on that. Yeah, it kind of is a memoization thing. I want to make the pipeline own the knowledge of when things changed, and then tell the transforms like, hey, I see you have new input. You should adjust. That would change what it does for the packet, but it might spontaneously change what it does for the packet, like changing the quarter note to an eighth note in the quantize. So I think, yeah. So let me say that too. So, excuse me, split transform into two steps. Pipeline deciding to use one or both. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll give us somewhere to go, and that'll be tied to this. All right. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks, as always, Mudshark666. And next week, I'm not going to be here Monday. I've got a doctor appointment. But Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll be at the usual time. And then the following week, I'm going to be out of town. And then the week after that, I don't know what we're up to, 19th or something. I'm going to set this aside for a little while. I've got a little project I want to try, a little calculator kind of project, very small project. We may go back to this when we're done. May have another project, but This one I feel like is getting far enough that I need more input from the person using it than, to see what directions we're going in from here. So anyway, at usual time, 2 to 3:30 on Tuesday instead of Monday, and 6 to 8:30 p.m. UTC. So thanks for joining. Catch you again in the future. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.